I'm Tamara, and today I am going to walk you through all of the steps that you need to know so that you can make these adorable Petal gift bags. Let's jump into that tutorial. So the first thing that you'll do is take two pieces of fabric and cut them. This red and white fabric has been cut at 16 inches square. I do have a blue Petal gift bag that I did with the whale print, and that one is cut at 12 inches, and then the orange and gray bag was cut at 17 inches. So you can have a little bit of fun with your sizing for the bags, but when we come to the actual part of creating the petal, keep that petal size the same. All right, so lay both of your pieces of fabric right sides together, smooth it out, and then it's time to pin them together. When you're pinning them together, make sure that you leave yourself an opening about 3 to 4 inches wide. I like to mark that with 2 pins. That way I remind myself not to sew across that section. Once everything is pinned, you can take this to the sewing machine and sew all the way around at a 1/4 inch seam. Just as a reminder for any beginner sewers, if you are sewing your straight line and you come to your corner, leave your needle in and lift your presser foot up, and then you'll be able to twist your fabric and sew along your next straight line. Now once you've sewn around your entire piece of fabric, it's time to get to those corners and just clip away the excess from the corner, making sure not, of course, to clip over the seam you just sewed. This is going to help when you turn it right side out so that your points will be a little bit more crisp. All right, so as you're turning it right side out, use your finger or another blunt object like the thicker end of a chopstick, and you can use that to just push those points out a little bit more to give them that crisp look. Do not use the end of a pair of pointy scissors because that will be too sharp and that will push that outer edge out completely, which is something that you don't want. Then use your fingers and just nudge the fabric to the edge so that you can iron around the entire thing. When you are ironing around it, remember you've got that open section, so just fold those pieces in at that 1/4 inch seam and iron along there so it's a nice straight edge that you will be able to sew across. All right, so now that we have ironed around the entire piece, we're going to take this back to our sewing machine and do a top stitch, also at a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. All right, so now that we've sewn that 1/4 inch seam all the way around, that opening that we left is now shut. And now it's time to create the points that will become our petals. So when you take your points, measure them out 3.5 inches or even 3 inches, but don't go any further in than that. So on this red fabric here, I've decided I want the white fabric to be my petal. So I'm just going to measure from the point all the way in, and I'm going to measure this one at 3.5 inches. My smaller blue bag I measured at 3 inches. So measure all 4 points at that 3.5 inch point, and then I just take my same measuring gauge here and I measure between all of the points and the bases to make sure everything is even. And if you're interested in this sewing gauge, I do have all of my favorite sewing tools linked in the description down below. All right, so now that I have pinned all 4 points inwards, it's time to sew along all of them at a 1 inch seam. A 1 inch seam will give you enough space so that you'll be able to move your ribbon or cord through once it's finished. And I also want to remind you to backstitch on all 4 of these points. All right, so now that we have sewn all 4 of those points down at that 1/2 inch seam allowance, now it is time to add our ribbon or cord. So I'm just going to take my ribbon here, fold it in half, and add my safety pin. I like to fold it in half because I find if I don't, the safety pin tends to pull apart the ribbon and it just kind of shreds itself. So folding it in half makes it easier. I won't find it falling off of the safety pin as I go around. And now just move your ribbon on through. There are 2 ways that you can do this. For this one here, I'm going to move the ribbon all the way around all 4 points. And then I'm just going to use that end, I'm going to pull it tight, and I'll tie a bow. But another way that you can do this is not by stopping here, but actually putting a ribbon all the way around through the opposite side. So you actually have ties on the left and on the right side. So as you can see here, I'm going to tighten it and then I'm going to turn it inside out so that my petals are on the top. If you end up making your petals larger, what's going to happen is the circle on the inside is actually going to end up being too big, which is what I did on my orange polka dot petal bag. So I actually took that back to the sewing machine and I made my petals smaller. That way when I pull tight, it actually is completely closed so that whatever you've put in your gift won't be seen. And that, my friends, is how you can make an awesome petal gift bag just in time for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please click that thumbs up button if you did. Subscribe and click that notification bell so that you don't miss the next video. And what's next time, you ask? Well, I am going to use a jelly roll and I am going to make a small table runner. I hope you'll come back and follow me for that tutorial. I promise you it is beginner friendly. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Bye!